Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the OffTheDome podcast, season 2, episode 19. This is Baller Nation. It is currently All-Star Weekend, March the 7th, as I'm sitting here recording this. A few hours before the All-Star game happens. I'm not gonna make any predictions and shit for the All-Star game. I did that. If you want to see that, check out my last podcast I had with Call Me Crafty. No guest on today's show, but I do have 2 guests lined up for this coming week, so stay tuned for those guys. Again, people that I'm pretty sure you've seen, if you're at all familiar with NBA content being created online at this moment. Today, what I want to do, since it is the All-Star break, I would like to go back and look at my award predictions that I made pretty much last year. I made them in 2020. Fuck it. I'm gonna call it last year. My award predictions that I made for this coming season for my MVP, Defense Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, and also the predictions I made as far as standings go, which teams, and I think at the end of the year I'm gonna do a full, maybe not a podcast, but a YouTube video about my reacting to my official standings predictions, because it's damn near impossible to predict the standings. But yeah, whatever. And I'll go through my award predictions and what I got right, what I've gotten wrong. And I'll go through my standings predictions just as far as the top teams I thought were gonna be in each conference so far. And also I'll go through my updated version of the final 4 in each conference. So what the final 4 teams, I guess final 8 teams starting the second round is going to start looking like, because all those things I made predictions about those at the beginning of the year, and I'll just give you an updated sort of point of view of that, what I have right now going into the second phase of the NBA season, because it always feels that way with the All-Star break. It's like everything that happens before the All-Star break kind of gets forgotten about after the All-Star break. Like right now we're all talking about the MVP race being between Joel Embiid, LeBron James, all these guys. These games that we're talking a lot about, we're LeBron has a bad performance, and we're like, oh yeah, there's no way he's MVP. We're no one's gonna remember that game in 3-4 months from now at the end of the year, where it's like, all right, who's the MVP? No one's gonna remember that little four game slide the Lakers had back in fucking February. When no one's gonna look at that and be like, okay, yeah, no, that means LeBron can't be MVP. Or same thing with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He started off the season pretty poorly, and at the time we were all like, "Yo, this guy, he's not going to be MVP. He's trash." But now we're starting to see him ball. We've already kind of forgotten about that, and it seems like after the All-Star break, everything that happened before the All-Star break just seems to get forgotten about, and it's a bit interesting. But that's kind of how that's the world nowadays, Fast moving world. But let's get going. I'm gonna move myself up so I don't look so fucking short. Okay. I'll start with the MVP award. Going into this year, I predicted Luka Doncic to win the MVP. Now I'll quickly read through, and it's a bit embarrassing because right now I think we can all agree that Joel Embiid is the MVP. I mean, he's a pretty clear front runner at this moment in time. Joel Embiid, he's got all the Joel Embiid. I think everyone should be able to agree that Joel Embiid is the current MVP. When you look at the 3 components when it comes to the MVP, are you putting up monster stats? Joel Embiid is. Are you playing on a top 3 team in your conference? Joel Embiid is. And are you playing pretty much every single game? You're not missing a lot of games, and Joel Embiid is. Those are historically speaking, those are the 3 big ones. But going into this year, I had Luka, Giannis, and Dame as my top 3 to win MVP. I had guys like Harden, LeBron, Jokic, Steph Curry, KD, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard. All those guys are sort of in the hunt, dark horses. I didn't even mention Joel Embiid before the season started as far as the MVP award goes. And I think that's what we really forget about, is that before the season started, we weren't talking about Joel Embiid winning no MVP. And shit, he might not. But at this moment in time, we should all be able to agree that he is the MVP. He is. And I don't think that this is going to keep up. I don't think that he will be the MVP at the end of the year. I think right now it's looking like it's going to be another race between Giannis Antetokounmpo and someone else. Maybe LeBron James will be in there. James Harden at the moment's making a push, but once Kevin Durant comes back, then that's not. I mean, we're not going to call James Harden the MVP anymore. But I think that when it's all said and done, right now when we're looking at what Joel Embiid's been doing recently, we have to look at this and appreciate the fact that we've never seen Joel Embiid be this good and this consistent for this long stretch of time. Since the season's began, what has it been, 30-something games since the season started? Joel Embiid's never had a stretch in his career where he's gone this far without a mental breakdown of some sort or without a serious injury. He just hasn't. He's been more consistent than we've ever seen him ever. And if he can continue to do this, Philadelphia has championships coming. They just do. They've got rings coming to the city of brotherly love if Joel Embiid can keep doing this. If he stays consistent, the team goes, and it seems like the NBA goes, as Joel Embiid goes right now. He is the dominant force in the MVP race right now, and he's the dominant force you could argue he's the most dominant player in the NBA right now. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think, has been making a big push in recent years, or in recent days, or recent weeks, I should say. And obviously LeBron James he's fucking LeBron James. But right now, Joel Embiid, he's playing better basketball than anyone else in the world is right now, which is pretty impressive. Going into this year, I don't think anyone was really expecting Joel Embiid to be this caliber of a player. And when I say the Philadelphia 76ers have been exceeding expectations, I'm not saying that going into the year we thought they were a shitty team. But you have to be honest with yourself. The only people who said Philadelphia was going to be the top seed in the conference at this point in the season, back at the beginning of the year, were Philadelphia 76er fans. There were no Celtic fans. There were no, I'm a Spurs fan. There's no Spurs fans saying, Philadelphia, they're going to be a top seed. They're going to be a top seed over the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to be a top seed over the Brooklyn Nets, the Boston Celtics. No one was thinking that. We're like, all right, they got fucking swept by Boston was last year in the playoffs. And we're like, all right, this is, I thought they were going to be a 5 seed, and they're out here balling out. So, yeah, all that to say, beginning of the year, I predicted Luka Doncic to win MVP. Currently, he's not doing that, but he's similar to James Harden in recent weeks, even though I don't think it's going to continue, because once Kevin Durant comes back, Harden's not going to be the MVP anymore. He's just not going to be. But Luka Doncic is starting to make a push here, and the Dallas Mavericks are starting to ball out here. I think they're 8-2 in their last 10, and if they were in the Eastern Conference, they would be a top 4 seed for sure. And I think we could agree that if you look at Dallas as a top 4 team, Luka would be in the MVP conversation because he's been putting up big numbers. He had a slow start to the year. Dallas, the Mavericks in general, really had a slow start to the year. But Luka and the boys are starting to go off. That's the MVP. Defensive Player of the Year, I picked Anthony Davis before the year began as my prediction to win that. Currently, I think it's Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert was my runner-up prediction. I thought that it was going to go AD at 1, Rudy Gobert at 2. Gobert for me is currently the MVP or the defense player of the year so far. And Anthony Davis, it's been a disappointing year for Anthony Davis, and he's gotten hurt, he's gotten injured, which it's never fun, and you don't like that. And it's going to be interesting to see how Anthony Davis can bounce back, because I think if Anthony Davis comes back like he played last year in the playoffs, we should all be able to agree that Lakers are going to make the NBA Finals at the very least. And then how they play against the Brooklyn Nets, that's going to be, I can't predict that Finals. I really don't know what's going to happen. But the way Anthony Davis has been balling out this year, it's not really what we normally expect from Anthony Davis. But and here's what I'll say about the Lakers too. Right now, I think the Lakers, that if they were to come back the way they were playing before Anthony Davis got hurt, that team, they're going to have a really tough time making the NBA Finals. Even though I would still think they're probably the best team in the league, other than the Brooklyn Nets, probably the best team in the Western Conference. But when Anthony Davis, if AD's giving you 22, 23 points a game in the playoffs, and LeBron's doing his thing because LeBron is consistent as fuck. But if the playoffs started today and we got Anthony Davis pre-injury, it'd be very difficult for me to picture a scenario where they don't lose to the Clippers or the Utah Jazz, just based on what they were doing before the AD injury. Because Anthony Davis is a huge part of that team, and he really wasn't playing at a superstar caliber level before the injury. Okay, but if we get Anthony Davis, if the playoffs started today, and we get Anthony Davis like we got Anthony Davis last year in the playoffs, GG. The Clippers are fucked. The Jazz are fucked. The Suns are fucked. Brooklyn, I'm not going to say they're fucked because they've got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. But AD, he's been a bit of a disappointment this year. He's still been a very good defensive player, but especially on offense, he's been a bit of a disappointment so far for me. Moving on to Rookie of the Year, I predicted James Wiseman to win Rookie of the Year, and that's a bit of a long horse, bit of a reach there for sure to pick Wiseman win Rookie of the Year. LaMelo Ball was my runner-up prediction, and he's currently running away, or I wouldn't say running away with it. Tyrese Halliburton out in Sacramento has been having a terrific season so far, and there've been a few other rookies here and there. Emmanuel Quickly in New York's been having a good year, but I think there's not a lot to say about that. Wiseman, the second pick in the draft. I thought, you know what, he might have a chance at it, and he might still have a chance at it. But I think LaMelo Ball has surprised us all. I really don't think there's a lot of people who thought he would be this good this early in his career. But you see the numbers in games that he starts. He's put up like 20 points per game or some shit like that. At this young of an age, he's a rookie doing this. It's hard. I mean, it doesn't happen very often. It really doesn't happen very often. And other rookies who put up the sort of numbers that Melo Ball's been putting up when he's been starting. You look at the likes. You look at the likes of Luka Doncic. Anthony Davis, I think, was doing this sort of stuff. And then some other ones, Tyreek Evans was having a really good rookie year. But you have to go back to like the LeBron Jameses of the world, the Blake Griffins of the world, these superstar caliber players in their day. And LaMelo Ball, he's been having a really good year so far. Sixth man of the year, I picked Montrezl Harrell to win Sixth man of the year, and he's been having a decent year. But right now, I think everyone should agree Jordan Clarkson, Sixth man of the year. Mike Conley just got inducted into the All-Star game. He fair play. He finally made the All-Star game. I don't think he should have made it, and I think that if you were gonna pick somebody to represent the Western Conference in the All-Star game, it shouldn't have been Mike Conley. I would have taken a guy like DeMar DeRozan. I would have taken a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or De'Aaron Fox. But if you wanted to pick a guy on the Utah Jazz, I think Jordan Clarkson was honestly more deserving of an All-Star selection than Mike Conley this season. The thing with Mike Conley is he's never made an All-Star game, and he's been playing at a really high caliber, a really high level for years and years. Mike Conley is a prime example of a guy, just like CJ McCollum, who would have made a number of All-Star games if he was playing in the Eastern Conference. But back when he was in Memphis, he was playing at a higher level than pretty much every single player in the Eastern Conference as far as point guards go. I mean, there's a few of them, Derrick Rose, John Wall, guys like that, of course, you can be playing at a higher level than Mike Conley. But Conley would have been comfortably an All-Star for 3 or 4 of those years. Same with CJ McCollum. But because he's playing in the Western Conference, because he's going up against competition like Westbrook, like Harden, like Steph Curry, every single year there's another guard. Kobe Bryant back in the day. Every single year there's another guard who comes up there. And it's tough. It's tough for a guy like Mike Conley who's never made an All-Star game, and finally the year he does make it is sort of the one year where it's like, I love the guy. He's one of my favorite players, and I got nothing but respect for him. But this isn't the year to make him an All-Star. I think, in my opinion, he missed the boat. And some players have those careers where shit just doesn't work out for them. And I think Mike Conley, he was one of those guys. But you know what? Whatever. He made the All-Star game. Jordan Clarkson, Sixth man of the year. He's the biggest. I think Clarkson's probably the most undebatable out of all the awards so far this year. The Sixth man of the year seems to be, we're not even halfway through the year, I don't think. We're right about halfway through the year. But Sixth man of the year seems to be all locked up. Jordan Clarkson's going to have to play extremely shit the remainder of the way for him not to win Sixth man of the year. He's going to have to get on that Cristiano Felicio type beat if he doesn't want to win Sixth man of the year. Because he's got it. He's won it. Clarkson's won the Sixth man of the year. There's been other good players. Patty Mills has been having a good year. A couple guys in Toronto have been having a good year. There's been other players having good six-man years. Trez. But Jordan Clarkson, he's got the shit all wrapped up. Moving on to most improved player. Now, I predicted Davis Bertans. This is hard for me to say because it's a bit embarrassing. This goes to show you how much I know. I thought Davis Bertans was going to have a breakout year of the Washington Wizards. Now, I made that pick. That's a completely biased pick because I just really like Davis Bertans. I don't know why. It's because he used to play on the Spurs. I thought he was really underrated. And he was a fucking demigod at shooting threes. But I probably shouldn't have picked him to win Most Improved Player because, first of all, I didn't realize how good he was last year. Like, he was putting up like 16 points a game or something last year. I thought it was like more like 12 or 13. I thought he would have a breakout year in Washington and develop and turn into like a pretty well-known name in the NBA community. Davis Bertans, sharpshooter for the Washington Wizards. That didn't happen, or that hasn't happened so far. He was hurt. He's had a few really good games. But Most Improved Player from me, and I think this year's Most Improved Player of the Year award race is a little bit different than any years past, and that's simply because there is genuinely a superstar in the NBA right now who should have his hat in the ring to win Most Improved Player of the Year. Statistically speaking, Nikola Jokic has been the most improved player in the NBA so far. As far as points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, shooting percentages, as far as free throw, 3-point percentages, true shooting percentages, all that, when you combine all that and you look at that all together in a vacuum, Nikola Jokic statistically has been having a more improved year than anybody, including guys like Jeremy Grant, including guys like Julius Randle, Colin Sexton, Christian Wood, Jaylen Brown, you name it. Nikola Jokic, statistically speaking, when you combine all those averages and you combine his percentages especially have gone way up, he's been having a more improved year than anybody in the NBA. Nikola Jokic is currently playing basketball. He's currently having a season that's going to go up there as one of the greatest offensive seasons by any big man in history, including guys like Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar back in the day, Shaquille O'Neal back in his prime, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan. What Jokic is doing right now is simply stupid. It is idiotically stupid on offense how good this man is. If he was, half the defender that Anthony Davis was, I would probably put him top 5 in the NBA right now, but he just can't. He plays one side of the court. He's not a very good defender, but he's one of the smartest players in the NBA, one of the best playmakers in the NBA. But that being said, the most improved player, historically, it's always gone to a role player who turns into an all-star caliber player. And I have written down here, I think Jeremy Grant's the most improved player of the year, because if you're just going to take the scope of players the type of players who normally win most improved player, guys like, and this year it seems like it's going to be guys like Christian Wood, who's hurt right now, but before he was injured, but guys like Jeremy Grant, Julius Randle, those sort of players who are typically, they sort of fit the mold for most improved player. I think Jeremy Grant's probably the one, but I'm telling y'all, I'm kind of biased because I'm a huge Nikola Jokic fan, but when you break down the numbers, Nikola Jokic is having a year and he's more improved statistically than anybody else in the NBA is currently, in my opinion. Finally, let's move on to Coach of the Year. Now, this one I was pretty close on. My prediction before the year started was Monty Williams, coach of the Phoenix Suns. You're looking now, Suns are a 2 seed right now in the Western Conference. They got the second best record in the NBA. You could easily make a case for Monty Williams, or maybe not easily, but you could definitely make a case for Monty Williams to be the Coach of the Year so far. And if not Coach of the Year, he's definitely top 3, top 2 currently. But Quinn Snyder of the Utah Jazz, he was a player who I labeled, or a coach who I labeled in the hunt for Coach of the Year, and he has been superb. The Utah Jazz this year have blown us all away, and historically speaking, the Coach of the Year goes to a team. It either goes to a coach coaching the best team in the conference, or like a top 2 sort of team in the conference, or a coach coaching a team that exceeded expectations and is made up of players who aren't really superstar caliber players. Last year, Frank Vogel won it. He had 2 superstars, but his team was the most dominant team in the NBA. This year, Quinn Snyder has no superstars. He has no one guy who's a household name. People know who Donovan Mitchell is. People know who Rudy Gobert is. But it's not a superstar. It's not like when Nick Nurse won Coach of the Year. It's not like Quinn Snyder doesn't have a Kawhi Leonard. He doesn't have a LeBron James. He doesn't have a Giannis Antetokounmpo. He has Donovan Mitchell. He has Rudy Gobert. Great players, but normally when you see a guy win Coach of the Year, he's got one of those guys on his team, or his team it just surprises everybody. And in this case, Quinn Snyder's team is surprising everybody. They really and truly are. No one, I'm not going to say no one, there might have been somebody. But, I mean, if you went to Vegas and you put all your money on the Utah Jazz being the top seed in the Western Conference at this point in the year, by All-Star break, at the beginning of the year, you would be a very rich human being at this point in time. You really would be. So those are my award predictions currently. Currently the people who are leading the awards for me, I'll just go through this real quick. Currently my MVP, Joel Embiid. My defensive player of the year has been Rudy Gobert. My rookie of the year has been LaMelo Ball. My sixth man of the year, and I think this is the most obvious one. Jordan Clarkson. Most improved player of the year so far for me has been Jeremy Grant, but I think Nikola Jokic has statistically been having a more improved year than anyone else in the NBA. And finally, coach of the year, I've gone with Quinn Snyder. And yeah, I've got three members of the Utah Jazz winning awards this year, and that's just the kind of year that they've been having. Really quickly here, I'm probably going to go about maybe 10 more minutes on the pod here. One seed, going into the year, I predicted the Lakers to be the one seed. I still think they will be the one seed in the Western Conference at the end of the year. I don't think the Jazz are going to keep this up all the way through. Currently, I predicted the Lakers to be the one seed before the year started. They're the third seed right now, and the Jazz are currently the one seed. I predicted them to be fifth. Out in the Eastern Conference, the Bucks were my prediction to be the one seed. They are currently third, and the 76ers, who are currently the one seed, I predicted them to be fifth. By the end of the year, there's no way that I can possibly see the Philadelphia 76ers being the one seed in the Eastern Conference. I don't think they can hang with the Bucks. I don't think they can hang with the Brooklyn Nets as far as making a push to be the one seed and having home court advantage throughout the playoffs. It goes back to Joel Embiid. I've been saying this. Joel Embiid is having the most consistent run of basketball he's had in his entire career. And it might be pessimistic, I think that's the word, to say that I don't think he's going to keep it up. I think he's going to hit a wall. And you can call me a hater, but I'm just going back and I'm looking at Joel Embiid throughout the years. He has a really good stretch of basketball, injury, really good stretch of basketball, and then something's wrong with his mentals. Really good stretch of basketball, and then he gets a little tweak in his back or some shit like that, and then it all falls apart. And then he has one really good game, one shit game, one good game, one shit. He's the definition of inconsistent. And what we've seen this year has been the most consistency we've seen out of Joel Embiid all year long. And I think that, I don't know if he can keep it up. I hope he can. For the sake of Philadelphia and for the sake of Joel Embiid, I hope he can. But I don't really know if he will be able to keep up his great play. Finally, the Final Four in each conference. Quickly, my playoff predictions at the All-Star break right now. This podcast is sort of a podcast just kind of update everyone on the NBA season, update everyone on my thoughts going into this, the final stretch of games in the NBA season. A historical NBA season, one with no fans in most places. But out in the West, I think the two second round matchups will be the Lakers and Jazz and the Clippers versus the Nuggets. 3 matches last year. I got the Lakers beating the Jazz, going through and taking on the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. That's going to be a close series, by the way. Lakers Jazz, that's going to be a close series. I don't care how much of a bronzosexual you want to be, but the Utah Jazz are good as fuck. And then Lakers versus Clippers, but I think the Lakers will still win. Lakers versus Clippers in the Western Conference Finals, again, that's going 6 or 7 games. Minimum. 6 games minimum. I say 7. This is going to be a very different playoff run this year for the Lakers than it was last year. Last year, the Lakers, they went up against the Portland Trailblazers in the first round, a team that I just want to can we all just really quick flash back to last year before the playoffs started? There were motherfuckers out there actually trying to convince people that the Portland Trailblazers were going to beat the Lakers. And when Portland won Game 1, there were people out there who were like, people thought the Blazers actually had a chance against the Lakers. That's kind of my point. I thought Houston Rockets had a chance against the Lakers though, so I can't really say anything. So I guess we're all idiots. But yeah, I mean, and then the Lakers go up against the Rockets and they blow them out of the water because the Rockets decide to go small ball randomly out of nowhere. It's like, all right, PJ Tucker is fucked. And then Lakers go up against the Lakers don't have to go up against the Clippers. And a lot of Lakers fans, they're not scared of the Clippers right now. A lot of Lakers fans are like, oh yeah, they call the Clippers, they call them the Flippers. They say, oh, Clippers ain't really. I mean, we don't worry about the Clippers. They can't even get past the Denver Nuggets. But I'm telling y'all, Lakers fans, I know you're not scared. Y'all got an extremely high amount of confidence. You always do. Y'all cocky, as you should be. You're the defending champions. You're gonna win it again. But the Clippers are gonna make it interesting. Y'all better hope that you don't fall up against Kawhi Leonard when he's on. You don't want to go up against second round Kawhi. You do not want to go up against second round Kawhi Leonard. That's not something you want to go up against. But yeah, I mean the Clippers Lakers in the second round or in the third round. I think Lakers will win that. Out in the East, I think the Nets, Heat, Bucks, and 76ers will be the last 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. No Celtics. I think Nets versus Heat. I think Nets will take that. Bucks versus 76ers. Bucks will take that. Conference Finals, Nets, Bucks. I'll take the Nets. Setting up for the NBA Finals, Lakers versus the Brooklyn Nets. And simply because I hate the Lakers, I think the Lakers will win the NBA championship. If I'm going to call a team, no. How do I say this? How the fuck do I say this? If I'm gonna be right about a team, no. If I'm gonna be right about a team I hate, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like I'm gonna just pick the team that I don't want to win. That way, if I'm wrong about the team, that if I'm gonna be wrong about who wins the NBA championship, the team that I don't want to win isn't gonna win. I'm always gonna pick the team that I don't want to win the NBA championship. Cause fuck you. I mean, you might call me a bitch, or you might call me a cunt for saying that shit, or whatever other word you say. I don't know. It's very strong language. I'm sorry. But you might call me whatever the fuck you want to call me, for predicting shit like that. I don't care. I do not care. I simply don't care. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been episode 19. Thank you very much for tuning in. 2 big guests coming up this week, and a few more coming up in weeks coming. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of the podcast. I just spoke really fast right there. I'm a bit tired. Mike Dean, Kanye West, take these guys to church. Peace out, y'all.
Let me get more volume.